and get a fit. Hi, what a treat to have FoodMarble today represented. And we have Rose down here in the orange top. Rose is very important. She's the customer support manager for FoodMarble. In case you have any customer support needs, it's hello@foodmarble.com. Hello@foodmarble.com. Rose, you might want to, when you come back, change your name, add that, if you don't mind, hello@foodmarble.com. And she will be in the Q&A box answering any questions, because I know we're going to have a lot. And so she'll do her best. And if it's a question that she can't answer, then we'll throw it to Claire and Angus, etc. All right, we'll see you later, Rose.
Thanks.
Thanks. They're coming hot from Ireland, by the way. And since I'm half Irish, I'm very excited to hear their voices. They're so beautiful. And now the brother and sister pair who co-founded the FoodMarble company because of Angus's wife, who had digestive issues, and Claire, who is a scientist and also studied the microbiome for her PhD. And these are their official titles. Okay. Claire is vice president of clinical at FoodMarble, and Angus is CEO, and they're both co-founders. So they started this company to help family, but also to expand it globally, which was really exciting, because in case you're here and you're going, what is FoodMarble? It is a handheld breath test device to help you with food sensitivities, and you can do a challenge function on it so that you can do your own at-home SIBO breath test. It was originally designed for food sensitivities and is expanded into the way people actually use it. So there's some official ways that it was designed, and then there's some like off-brand ways that people are using it. And because I'm off-brand, I can say whatever I want. This is not medical advice. These are not your doctors, etc. This is excellent information for you, however, so you can be an informed patient. And if you're a practitioner, welcome. We love that. Speaking of practitioners, and I'm going to hand things over to Claire, who's going to do most of the presentation, then Angus is going to chime in, followed by Q&A. One of the struggles for people who had the device before is they couldn't get their PPM, or parts per million, delivered to them personally. That has been in years a work in progress. And now, here it is. We're announcing it first right here with Dr. Allison Siebecker and Siobhan Sarna, SIBOinfo.com, SIBO SOS, perfect timing, Dr. Siebecker, that yes, you can now get parts per million. We're going to break it all down. By the time you leave, you won't have any confusion. It'll be all clarity. Take a breath, turn off all of the other devices, especially if you have brain fog. We can appreciate that. But there's some complexity to it in that it's such a new idea and so different. So I just need you to absorb that. Here is Dr. Allison Siebecker, my cohort.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yay, everyone.
Hi, Allison.
I have to go to a different computer to sign in. I don't know what's happening this morning, but I'm so glad to be here with you all.
Oh, fantastic. Dr. Siebecker and I share a mutual mission of educating the world about SIBO, EMO, hydrogen sulfide overgrowth, ultimately IBS. And she and I have worked together on 10-year anniversary this year. Whoa, intense. Hey, Barb. And we're just thrilled to have advancements in technology to be able to announce, and are very, very excited that you're here.
Thank you, Claire and August, for being here. This is very exciting.
Dr. SIBO is truly a SIBO specialist.
You just called me Dr. SIBO.
There you go.
I do that all the time, and it is not on purpose. I'm sorry. I'm getting you a t-shirt. Let's start talking about the FoodMarble. Dr. Siebecker and I are going to be here. We're going to hide our cameras. Angus, I know you're coming back in a little bit. Claire, Shortt, take it over, baby. Come on.
No problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Just loading here. That's okay?
Yep, it looks great.
Okay. Hi, everybody. It's been a while since I've been at one of these webinars. It's great to be back. Since our last webinar, lots of really good things have been happening. So today we're really going to walk through some of our latest app features. Siobhan mentioned some of them already. PPM. At the last webinar, there was, a lot of feedback about that, and we listened, and we've been able to launch that, so we're really pleased about that. And also I'm going to go through some of our latest published research, including studies with McMaster University, Harvard Medicine, Johns Hopkins. So yeah, lots to cover today. So I will just get started. So since launching our device in 2018, our focus has remained the same. In a world today, there's over 1 billion people that are living with daily digestive issues. So if we can help a fraction of those, that is life-changing. At FoodMarble, we have reimagined what breath testing can be. We've developed the most advanced reusable device. It connects to an app on your phone and you get your results in real time. And if you're working with a clinician, they'll get the results in real time also. This means you can make faster, more informed decisions. We continuously validate and improve our technology. Over the years, we've manufactured over 1,000 devices, 100,000 devices. And since the last webinar, we've partnered with some of the leading GI centers in the US, and they're using our device with hundreds of their patients on a monthly basis. So we have one of the largest digestive health data sets in the world. So we're not just improving the access to breath testing, we're advancing the science of gut health. In just under 20 seconds, you'll see the process of taking a breath sample. No tubes, no mailing your samples back to a lab. It's really simple. Breathe into the device. In real time, you'll get the results to your phone. So hopefully this video works. So when you're ready to take your breath test, hold down the button. And at this point, pause or hold your breathing for 3 seconds. And then exhale really slowly for 5 seconds. Gentle works best. And then the result will appear on screen. When we eat a meal, anything that's not fully absorbed gets passed to our gut microbes. These microbes are especially good at breaking down carbohydrates. They can also digest some proteins, but carbs really are their preferred fuel. As they ferment these leftovers, they release gases like hydrogen and methane. These gases are absorbed into the blood, carried to your lungs. So as you breathe out or exhale, we can measure these gases on the breath. This whole process is normal and healthy. However, in some people, they produce too much gas or the gas builds up. This leads to bloating, pain, or change in your bowel movements. So this is really where breath testing can come in. It can help us understand where certain foods aren't being absorbed properly, and also if there's an overgrowth of microbes in the small intestine. Our program has been designed to help people really understand their gut step by step. It starts with a baseline phase where you log your meals, your symptoms and breath data to see what is normal for you, and that's really important. Next is reset for a short period of time, typically a week, where you reduce foods that ferment quickly in your gut. This gives your gut a chance to reset, and it can often bring you some relief from your symptoms. And then lastly, you move into discovery. This is where you can test individual food components or fermentable carbohydrates to find out what really works for you and what doesn't. So baseline is about building a profile that's specific to you. To build a complete profile of your gut, we want you to track more than just food and breath. In the baseline phase, you can actually track your symptoms, your bowel movements, your sleep, your stress, also medications. All of these factors influence your digestion. Taking breath readings throughout the day is something that we made possible. And over the last 7 years, we've built a really deep understanding of what that data means. With over 25 peer-reviewed studies and many more in the progress, we've learned that each person has their own unique daily or diurnal gas pattern. That's why in the first week of using our program, we ask you to take 3 breath readings at different time points in the day. And this was what builds up your profile. Once the baseline profile is set, every reading that you take after that point will be compared to what's normal for you. On the home screen in the app, you'll see this breath meter. And basically, it'll show whether your latest breath reading that you took on the app, on the device was higher or lower than your normal for that time of the day. So then you can really quickly and easily see if something's off or if something has changed. Next is the reset phase. This is where we temporarily reduce the foods that tend to ferment very quickly in our gut. The goal is to give your gut a short break and bring gas levels down so you can start to feel better. At the start, during baseline phase, you'll notice when you log some of your meals, they're high in FODMAPs, and that can often lead to elevated breath readings. However, during reset, you reduce the foods that ferment quickly. In other words, you reduce the high FODMAP foods in your diet. This typically leads to a drop in both hydrogen and methane. And importantly, it gives time for your gut to reset. And it also confirms how much your diet may be driving your symptoms. And then in the app, you'll see if your breath readings are lower than usual during reset. Once you've completed the reset phase, you'll move into discovery, where we start to test those individual food components or fermentable carbohydrates to find out which ones you can tolerate and which ones actually might be triggering symptoms for you. We provide individual sugar packets that can be used for each test. These include lactose, found in dairy, fructose, found in fruits, honey, high fructose corn syrup, so a lot of processed foods. Sorbitol is an important one, found in stone fruits like avocado and low-cost sweeteners, and then also inulin, so wheat products, onion, garlic. So using these 4 different packets, you can test your response to these fermentable carbohydrates one at a time. The whole process is guided step by step in the app, and it gives you measurable data to help you remove any guesswork. That's why it's so important to test these individually. The goal isn't to avoid these foods forever. It's to identify your unique triggers and tolerance levels and build a diet around that, on something that works for you. The fermentable sugars are found everywhere, both in healthy food and less healthy food, from fruits and vegetables to bread to yogurt to your morning smoothie. I mean, some meals can actually contain multiple FODMAPs at once. That's why it's so hard for us to actually pinpoint what is causing our symptoms. And that's why such a structured individual testing approach is important. This study is led by Dr. David Armstrong at McMaster University. So he's a leading expert in GI nutrition. This large study, participants are asked, before they did any testing at all, which food intolerance do you suspect you have? The results were really eye-opening because sorbitol was the least expected sugar out of all of the sugars tested. However, it had the highest positivity rate. Sorbitol found in avocado, low-cal sweeteners, probably not that widely known. Meanwhile, lactose was the most commonly suspected prior to testing. However, it actually had the lowest positivity rate. So really, this shows that how easy it is to guess wrong and why a structured data-driven approach makes the difference. That's why we always say, guess less, test more. So this is further evidence supporting the use of breath testing for dietary intervention. This one's really, I'm very excited about this. This is our recent publication, went live in July. This is a study led by Dr. Kyle Stoller. He is the director of GI motility at Mass General Hospital, and also assistant professor of medicine at Harvard. This was a huge milestone for us as a company because it validated our approach using these daily breath readings to assess response to dietary intervention, and in this study in particular, FODMAP restriction. So in the study, nearly 2,000 people completed baseline and reset. During baseline, they followed their usual diet, logged their meals, symptoms, and breath. Then in reset, they reduced these for 1 week. So again, short duration. And you can see on these charts, the orange represents baseline and the green represents reset. And on average, you can see the hydrogen and methane levels decreased during reset, showing a very clear and measurable response to dietary change. So this is a powerful demonstration of how daily tracking can actually help people see what's working and gain more confidence in their intervention. You know, at the end of the day, our goal is simple. We want to make and help people feel better. Even within a short time frame of 1 week, we saw meaningful reductions in symptoms, bloating, flatulence, abdominal pain, really common digestive issues. These charts show the average symptom scores across baseline and reset. Again, baseline is orange, reset is green, and you can see a significant reduction across all 3 symptoms. Again, reinforces the benefit of daily tracking. And it's not just about understanding the data, it's about helping people find relief fast. We also know the low FODMAP diet is not suitable for everybody. And that's why we're excited about a follow-up paper we're close to submitting, where we actually use the baseline data profile to predict whether or not someone will respond to the low FODMAP diet. So this study's a bit of a shift in focus. It's more about SIBO. This is a registered clinical trial that we did at Johns Hopkins. Patients suspected to have SIBO completed a lactulose breath test. Those who tested positive were treated. We asked the participants to actually take daily breath readings before they started treatment, during treatment, and after treatment. And we wanted to track how does their gas levels change over time. At baseline, the patients had elevated hydrogen levels compared to controls. However, following treatment, these levels dropped, aligned very closely with the healthy group. I speak with doctors on a regular basis, and they'll tell me some of their patients respond so well to standard SIBO treatment, whereas many don't. And in a lot of those cases, they require more time, more patience, and kind of a multi-targeted approach. That's why we believe building your own baseline profile can really help you give a much clearer picture about if you're responding to a particular intervention and potentially if a change in approach would actually be beneficial. So that's all for me. I can hand over to Angus. He is going to actually talk about expert mode. This is our exciting new app feature.
Great. Thanks a million, Claire. Really interesting presentation. Yeah, so I'm going to pick off this particular feature that we've just launched over recent days. We're really excited for you guys to see it. I will go through what we do today in terms of showing the results to give a little bit of context. Then I'll explain, the changes you're going to see in the app, and then also how you can turn it on. So if you're an existing user, a lot of our devices will support this, so you should be able to turn it on. So what we have today is the fermentation score. So let me go through that. So essentially, we've got a 0 to 10 score. This gives you a really good picture of how high your fermentation levels are. So you can divide the scale into 3. So the bottom third corresponds to low, and the top third is high, and the middle third in the middle. So that will also combine the effect of both hydrogen and methane. So it's essentially a combined scale. And our goal with this has always been to make it easy for people to be able to get a sense of, are my fermentation levels high or low in a way that's a little bit accessible to people. So that's this is available in the app and it will continue to be available. So that's something you can come back to if you wish. Um, so I think the slides might have just gone forward there. Claire, are you able to go back?
Yeah.
Yeah. So an important thing about the way the 0 to 10 score is uh, it will the levels will rise increasingly slowly. So it means that it never caps out. It never actually reaches 10. So it gives you this nice, convenient 0 to 10 scale to get a sense of how high are my fermentation levels. So, but from the start, we've known that some people want to see more. They want to get the raw data. They want to see what are my parts per million levels. And so to give you a bit of sense of what are parts per million, so that's essentially how many molecules of hydrogen and methane are there within a million molecules of whatever's in the air. So between carbon dioxide, nitrogen, oxygen, and all that stuff that's in the air. So it gives you a little bit more detail, and some of you guys are really well versed in breath testing, so you want to see that extra information. So I'll give you a picture of what it looks like. So we've got on the home screen, you'll be able to see the ppm values directly in there, and you'll be able to see our breath meter as well. So that will tell you how do these values compare to what you got during the baseline stage. So Claire went through that baseline stage, and so that will give you a bit of a picture. And then after each breath test, you'll see essentially a display like this. So you'll see your hydrogen levels in ppm, your methane levels, and then that meter again will show you how does this compare to what's normal for you for this time of day. Because a really important aspect is our levels. We tend to all have a cycle of our fermentation levels over the day. So most people will have higher levels in the evening, lower levels in the morning. And so you like using our program, you'll see what's normal for you, and then we can use the fermentation meter to see how did your current levels compare to what's normal for you for this time of day. So how do we turn this on? So if you currently have a FoodMarble device that you got in recent times, you'll be able to turn this on. So we've tried to make this available to the maximum amount of people. It does require a bit of work on our part to be able to enable it for devices. So we've gone back as far as we can. So it's going back a couple of years. And essentially, you'll be able to go into your app, go to the profile section, and then essentially you're going to select expert mode, which will be an option in the profile section on under preferences, and then essentially you'll be able to choose between either the current fermentation score or switch over to ppms. So we provide a bit of insight, a bit of info in there to for you to see what does that mean and how it can be useful. If you are an existing user, you will need to unpair from your device and repair to make expert mode available. But you just simply need to go into the profile section again, and under my device, you can unpair your device and then repair it, and you should see expert mode inside the preferences section under profile. So really easy to enable. And if you're an existing user, you just need to unpair and repair, and that will enable PPMs during day-to-day testing as well as when you're doing a challenge. So you'll be able to see all of that information. And yeah, really hope you love it. Please share any feedback. If you have any issues getting that enabled, please reach out to us. You can see Rose mentioned hello@foodmarble.com is our customer email. So please reach out if you have any issues with that. And yes, please give us your feedback as well on the feature. So I think that's it for me. And we can just maybe, yeah, so this is just some of the feedback from some of our users of our device. And yeah, we like we're very focused on how to make this as useful for all of our users. So yeah, we want to keep evolving what we do to make this as impactful as possible for you.
Fantastic. Claire, come on back. Thank you so much. Dr. Siebecker, come on back. I know Rose is working behind the scenes answering some questions. Thank you so much. Let's put some love into the chat for the brother and sister pair, Angus and Claire, co-founders of FoodMarble. Fantastic. That was great. That was clear, straightforward. I love it. What is the advantage of the PPM mode rather than the 1 through 10 scale? Let's cover that quickly. And then Dr. Siebecker, I know you have a few comments.
I think for people who are familiar with PPM, so maybe people who are touching on the research, or they're working through different protocols, maybe they're working with a clinician. PPMs can be helpful to be able to track those numbers individually. So if you're aware of the implications of methane specifically, or the implications of hydrogen specifically, and you just maybe want to track one of those, or one of them in detail, that can make it really helpful to see that extra detail.
Yeah, I can chime in on that one. The way I like to use FoodMarble is for actual SIBO testing, formal SIBO testing, which, as you mentioned, is the challenge function in the app. And when I'm doing SIBO testing with people, I need to see the parts per million. And I would personally recommend that anybody who's doing a challenge, meaning a SIBO test, that they need the PPMs. And this is why I am so happy you have launched this, because I just felt handicapped by this. And, there was a way for clinicians to access this information, but now everyone can access it. And I'm just so pleased, because if you're going to be doing a SIBO test, you really need those PPMs, because we really use those to make treatment decisions, very, very much so, because your hydrogen or methane levels can go, up to 150 parts per million. And, we'll see after SIBO typically takes more than one treatment round to treat it in most cases. There are those wonderful one and done cases, but for the most part, we need multiple treatment rounds. And so we can track this with retesting. This is the other reason I absolutely love the FoodMarble, because you already have the device. You can run a retest at no additional cost to yourself, and we'll often see parts per million come down, say 30 part per million on average between treatment rounds. And this, you wouldn't really be able to see that so clearly with the fermentation score. Maybe it might, I don't know how much it would drop by, but here you can exactly see the data, and then you know what to do. And like Angus mentioned, if you're not responding to a treatment, and I have comments about that as well, that also, you can see that in a parts per million easily, and it'll help you to know to switch. I just think the parts per million are so needed when you're doing SIBO testing. Now, like food tracking is different, then the fermentation score I think is extremely helpful, but for formal SIBO testing. So those are my 2 cents on why it's good, PPMs.
Excellent. Can two people use the device? I mean, the same device.
Well, so what we'd recommend, if multiple people in the house want to use a device, it makes sense, get the device initially, on your separate phones, both download the app, and maybe just use it one at a time, because it's hard to use it both at the same time if you'll kind of run up against issues sometimes. But the first person could install the app, go through the process. When they're done, pass it through to the next person. So, we're always glad to make it as accessible as possible to people, but it is very hard to use it at the same time, because then you're running up against pairing and repairing and kind of some of those challenges. You can't really do an infinite number of tests in the same day, because it's just going to overwhelm the device. So it's better to use it one person at a time.
Siobhan, can I ask a question?
Yep, go for it.
Were you going to say a follow-up there?
No, go ahead.
Okay, because I saw a question came in about this, and I have the same question. I just want to know, like, about how you explained how to get expert mode on your phone. I did what you said of going to my device and unpairing it. And then I went to preferences, but I still don't see expert mode. Is that because I've had my device for so long? Like you all sent it, you were so kind to send me a device when it all first came out. So is that the case?
Well, so it should be coming up. So I could check how old your device is. Maybe it's kind of going back too far in time. But
Mm.
just to clarify for people, it should be in that main, like you should see it in that main profile section. It's kind of towards the end. It's I think the second last thing in there. But it will only appear after you unpair and repair. And it sounds like you've done that, Alison. So we could take a look just to see, what might be causing that to happen for you. But that should work for people. We've tried it out with a range of devices.
Maybe
So
it's an
but
app update. Could it be?
oh, sorry, that's probably it. It needs
Yeah,
to
that's
be a
true.
recent version of the app. So on iPhone and Android, if you just update to the latest app version, that's a requirement as well.
Okay. All right.
And you know what, Angus, I did not, I'm sorry, sometimes I say Angus and sometimes I say Angus. What's the best pronunciation?
No, yeah, I've got a weird Irish name, so I hear all sorts of different pronunciations. Don't worry.
What is the best way to pronounce your name?
Angus is perfect.
Angus. Okay, got it.
Yeah, yeah.
I just want to mention that I didn't repair. So, and I
Okay.
didn't, I'm doing that now, and I didn't check for the app update. So the fact that I'm having these problems, and you're talking me through should help everybody else, right? All the things we have to do.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Okay, guys, I gotta do business here for a second. If you have a question, please put it in the Q&A box, not the chat. And then if you scroll in the chat, we have 16% off for you if you did decide to purchase a FoodMarble today, which is the most ever because I arm wrestled and got that extra percent for you. Thank you. Plus, we have some goodies for you. Let's see, if you order today with our link, actually through August 5th, then we have a FoodMarble masterclass that's a $59 value that Dr. Josh Goldenberg did with Dr. Siebecker, and I was there too, and it was great, and it's very, very in depth about the FoodMarble, like very. You're going to want to watch it in small segments. It's not non-intense. It's very intense and it's wonderful. And of course, this was before the PPM because that's launching like basically today. So that's addressed a little bit, but you can skip through that part. But it's fantastic, and it talks about how he uses it in his clinical environment and how it works with his patients. And then that's the bonus if you decide to buy between now and August 5th. And you email the proof of purchase to us at info@sibosos.com. If you order by 8 p.m. tonight, this is just for the people live or people watching replay here on July 30th, 2025, then you get the slides that Claire and Angus presented today. So that's just like an extra bonus for those of you who decide to take fast action today before 8 p.m. Eastern. You do have to send us proof of purchase to info@sibosos.com. Thank you. But everyone can get the 16% off. So take all your questions and please put them over in the Q&A box. It is exploding right now. Rose is working really hard to get, hey Barb, good to see you here, to get your questions answered. If you purchase through our link, they can still connect to their practitioner, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. The purchase is the link is in the chat. I will repaste it. I'm gonna go pull that out for a second and repost it because sometimes, let's see. Can you update the App Store or Google Play on Android? Oh, wait, you can update it. Okay, sorry, Angus. Okay, guys, just stay in the Q&A box for me. Okay, let's see. We've got more questions coming in hot here. Wow, Rose, you got a lot of questions. Angus, can you pop into the Q&A box and not the chat and help her out for me? Thanks.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
any way that the FoodMarble can assess LIBO, large intestine bacterial overgrowth?
Yeah, so the device can be used to measure hydrogen and methane. So LIBO, so large intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So for I guess for that you would assess that using lactulose. And you can see full intestinal transit from small to large.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just about the time, so you just want to make sure you're going for 3 hours. And that third hour generally on average represents the large intestine.
Yeah.
Okay. Super. So I know you already answered this. When is hydrogen sulfide coming? Hey, Barb.
Yeah, so we've made really good progress on hydrogen sulfide in our testing, and so most of what we're doing now is working with our clinical partners to try and understand the implications of what we're seeing. There's more refinement to do. It's likely to be next year, so it's hard to judge on an exact timing. But yeah, we're making great progress on that.
Guys, they have no control over lactulose in the United States. So that is correct. You will need a prescription for lactulose in the United States. Not a darn thing we can do about that. That's a whole nother conversation that we can talk about all day and won't impact. So
just briefly, trying to get lactulose in the US, you can ask your primary care physician for it. It's used, most doctors don't have any issue prescribing it. It's used in higher dose as a laxative. And also, we do recommend SIBO testing with fructose. That we had a whole webinar with Dr. Jason Horlak about that. That's a viable option if you truly can't get any lactulose.
okay.
And also, you can ask your vet for it for your pets. It's used all the time in veterinary
All the
medicine.
time. Yeah. This is a little bit of a cynicism that I see in the SIBO community. Like we're all pissed off because we have SIBO, and now we're pissed off because we can't get lactulose. So I want to evaporate that right now and just be super glad that we have that even available as an option and that it's cheap. And you do need to get a script for it, but talk to your vet, talk to the nurse practitioner at the front desk, at your gastro, at your, PCP. It's not a dangerous substance. It's sugar.
It's a mistake that it's a mistake that it's on
we
the
agree
formulary.
with you, but I don't even want to spend another breath on it because
Yeah.
it's the way it is. Okay. Hold on. Okay. So Fonda, good to see you, Fonda. Is it possible that the packets, I think this is kind of a you, Dr. Siebecker question. Is it possible that the packets that come with the device could be enough to create a relapse effect if used in someone whose SIBO symptoms have resolved well from treatment?
Yeah, this is a question a lot of people worry about. And it's sort of akin to if I eat something off of what I can tolerate and it gives me symptoms, can that give me a relapse? And we don't know this for sure. It's not like there's been a study done on this to say for sure. But my opinion from working with so many people clinically is that if you fall into a relapse after eating something or taking a packet of something that triggers you, that relapse was well underway already. So I don't think I've seen so many people take, they're in remission, they take a lactulose test and nothing happens to them, So I think if it does happen to you, it's because under the surface already the microbes were growing back. And that might just be that final straw. But in general, I would tend to say no. We don't need to be afraid of testing with these carbohydrates, that's going to just put you into a relapse.
And probably just a quick follow-up point, the way the challenges are set up and the protocol is designed, you have to kind of eat low FODMAP the day before, and then you fast for 12 hours. The level of gas and water in your system is relatively low, and then the dose of the sugar in these packets is high enough to evoke a response, but low enough that you should not develop symptoms during the test. That's the way the test is designed. It's not designed for you to develop symptoms during testing. It's all about just specifically looking at the changing gas. So yeah, definitely don't be worried that it could cause symptoms either during the challenge.
And by the way, sometimes people do get symptoms just because things happen in life, right? I mean, people get symptoms from taking anything, right? Like that's why there's all these symptom warnings on every medicine and every supplement everywhere.
Yeah.
But if that happens, it's temporary. And, Siobhan and I both have symptomatic relief suggestions handouts on our websites for free. And so, or for signing up. And there's easy things you can do in that you can just get at any drugstore to help if you get a symptom. Like you don't need to be worried, like if, there's like activated charcoal can help calm if by chance you get a symptom. And I have to say, it's pretty rare.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, Barb, hey Barb, is saying if you ever make it to Canada, you can buy it at our pharmacies, which is interesting because,
Lactulose, that is, right?
Thank you, Dr. Siebecker. So it'd be interesting because some of the pharmacies that we send people to in Canada for rifaximin and prucalopride and other things that are SIBO patients use a lot. It'd be interesting to see if some of those pharmacies have lactulose available and they can ship it to you. So just a thought. We have to keep going because we have 46 open questions, and you know how I feel about that. Please bring your questions over into the Q&A box. And Rose, I think can you grab Julie who's up top, or can you, Angus? So let's see. Can I use your device, if not in the USA, to diagnose SIBO as a clinician? Is it regulated? Well, wait a minute. I'm going to help you. So this device was not originally created as a SIBO test device. So there are rules and regulations, what they can say and what they can't say. Let me say clinically, and if you do buy this today, I would definitely send us your information, your proof of purchase before 8 p.m. tonight, so you can watch Dr. Josh Goldenberg's class, because he uses it in his clinic and he does use it that way. So moving on. Don't worry about it. Short family. Okay. Okay. Would bloating be the only symptom to look for with hydrogen sulfide SIBO as a result of those triggers? New to SIBO, so knowing those most common symptoms generally that hydrogen sulfide SIBO sufferers have, more specific symptoms pointing to hydrogen sulfide. So Dr. Siebecker, I'll let you take.
I can answer that. What the studies show is diarrhea. I want to say that clinically we see constipation about half the time. Which is very odd, but the studies show diarrhea, and the more severe the diarrhea, the higher the hydrogen sulfide usually. And so, if you've got very bad diarrhea, you may want to think about hydrogen sulfide. And also acid reflux has been correlated in studies, and urgency. Then clinically, something that we've seen is, and this doesn't always line up with, well, I don't need to get into the details. I don't want to confuse everybody, but basically we also see things like sometimes sensitivity to sulfur foods. Occasionally you'll see where the breath or flatulence has a sulfur smell. That's not that common. There might be like body pain, kind of like a fibromyalgia body pain thing. This is because hydrogen sulfide is, in high amounts, is a very toxic gas. In small amounts, it's very beneficial for the body. It's healthy for the body, but in high amounts, it's toxic. We also might see light or sound sensitivity, and quite commonly we'll see peripheral neuralgia. So basically, hands, feet, fingers, toes, tingling or numbness.
Mm-hmm. Fascinating.
That's
Fascinating. Yeah.
I've learned stuff.
What is the average ppm of hydrogen in, I think, and methane in a healthy person? Dr. Siebecker, what do you think?
Oh, I'll turn it to them. You guys have all the data.
Know. Yeah.
Right. So true.
Well,
right.
Well, it's interesting. So Claire had a slide up there, which is actually going to be, it's part of a study that's getting published in the, and this will actually give you a bit of a sense of it. Might be worth looking at that. So you can see the huge range in hydrogen. So hydrogen is very responsive to food. So you tend to see, this is the average for somebody in terms of their hydrogen levels for each hour of the day. So this is their daily cycle. And so this was looking at the baseline stage and the reset stage. So baseline's where you're doing what's normal for you, so you're making no change. Resets where you're cutting down on your fermentable food intake, all of those FODMAPs, so you're reducing your FODMAP levels. So you see the levels get lower during reset, but regardless of baseline and reset, you see it's lower in the morning, higher in the evening on average, and you'll see that levels will tend to be like something anything between 10 and 30 is pretty normal. But like it's important to note this is people who tend to have digestive symptoms. So, but you don't necessarily we see higher levels generally in people with digestive problems, but you can have hydrogen and methane and be healthy. So you're really looking to see, am I symptomatic, and symptoms that correspond to these sorts of issues, and do I see hydrogen and methane? And if I do, if I see both of those, then maybe reducing my hydrogen and or methane may help with my symptoms. So you're looking for them together. But yeah, these are the sort of levels that are pretty typical. But as Dr. Siebecker said, you can have people who go all the way up into the 100, like the up over 100 ppm sometimes, especially after they've done a SIBO test. So, don't be worried if your levels are on the higher end. That's normal, and that gives you an indication that you might be able to help your symptoms by bringing down those levels.
Okay, listen, people are asking Annie, can you use the FoodMarble with just eating some food and not using a primer like lactulose? Yes, that is absolutely what it was originally designed for, and then it's been expanded. So you eat some food, you can see how you're doing with your food sensitivity. So yes, to answer your question. And then the lactulose would just be for the challenge mode if you wanted to do a SIBO breath test. Okay, how can I unpair the device? Rose, I'm going to let you take that, or you can. Angus, Donna is in there asking.
Yeah, so it's in the go into the profile, press the profile button in the bottom right hand of the screen, and then you'll see my device. It's kind of around the middle of the menu, and then you've got a big blue unpair button at the bottom.
When the hydrogen sulfide update comes, will it be grandfathered into the old devices? Like, how does that going to work?
Well, we haven't really figured out that part yet. We're more
Okay.
focused on how to measure it for now.
Okay. Yeah, they're not trying, just to be blunt about it, they're not trying to like screw anybody over, right? They want to help you. So they're going to do their best in order to get as many people to get as much testing as possible. So they're working on it. And what you just answered makes me feel like you're not as close as we want you to be, but keep going. You're doing great. Yeah. Okay. Jerry, hi. Dr. Jerry and Tammy, hi. Is the baseline testing protocol needed if we're just doing a SIBO challenge? I don't even know what it means, so help me.
I would assume no. I mean, you can just do a SIBO test with the challenge function. But
Yeah,
I mean, Angus, you're probably going to say it could only be helpful, right, to have that baseline.
Yeah, well, the baseline can be helpful in terms of getting a sense of what your day-to-day readings are. So that can be a starting point. And one good thing about reset is for some people, they're quite symptomatic. They might be even having a flare. Like taking that week of reset to reduce your FODMAP intake, that can help your symptoms get a little bit under control. And so it means that when you go to do a SIBO test, it can sometimes be a better guide, because if you're already symptomatic, it will tend to kind of make people feel, okay, I've definitely got a problem, when it can help with the testing in terms of relieving your symptoms first.
A couple of things I just want to mention. Siobhan, did you have something to say?
I just want to say that yes, if you're eating FODMAPs and you want to test to see how you're reacting to that, yes, the FoodMarble does work for that. So just wanted to say that, Barb. Hold on.
Kind of on that question where we're talking about baseline and then a SIBO test, just to remind everybody that when you're doing a SIBO test, a challenge function, it's different than you don't want to compare those, let's say, parts per million numbers to your daily ones, because those are two different things, meaning that you've done you've done a day of a prep diet of low fermentable food and an overnight fast, and then you've taken something to instigate, you've taken a substance to instigate the lactulose, let's say. the PPM levels. And so that is a different thing. You don't want to compare that exactly across to when you're just sampling day to day after eating food. There's two different things. So just to keep that in mind.
I think that's very important.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, two different measurements. And then one other thing I just want to mention is we all, in the context of SIBO, not everybody who uses this device has SIBO, right? They can all have other kinds of carbohydrate issues, carbohydrate intolerances. But I just want to mention that we all now these days say FODMAP all the time because the diet is so popular and has a cajillion studies. But in the context of SIBO, there are other fermentable, highly fermentable foods that are not talked about on that diet. And so I just want to make mention of that. And specifically, this would be long chain fiber. In fact, the FODMAP diet asks people to eat long chain fiber. And for a SIBO patient in particular, that is high fermentable. So whenever we are thinking FODMAP, maybe think high fermentable and expand your definition. Just if you have SIBO.
Gold. What she just said is gold. Don't get limited just to the low FODMAP diet. That's why Dr. Pimentel calls his perspective on eating low fermentation diet. Dr. Siebecker has incorporated all of that into the SIBO specific food guide that she has created.
And actually, can I say one more thing?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, good. Sorry.
Okay.
While we're talking about the context of SIBO and doing all the carbohydrate tests, I just want to talk about two sides of the coins here. So just to remember that if you have SIBO, that can create other carbohydrate intolerances. It can create, like physiologically, it can create lactose intolerance, fructose intolerance, etc. So it's often a good idea to do a SIBO test, the challenge function, first to find out. There are studies on this. Claire's, of course, nodding her head. First, to find out if you have it. Clear the SIBO, then do your carbohydrate tests. However, flip side of the coin is, even if you know you have SIBO, you may still want to do some of these carbohydrate tests after, for instance, like lactose, because while many people, the majority of people who have SIBO do get lactose intolerance from it, not everybody does, right? And this is actually in the FODMAP diet, as it's written, they recommend that you check, because not everybody with SIBO will have lactose intolerance. And then you don't have to avoid those foods. So there's two sides of the coin here. I just wanted to mention that. There's a role for all of this testing.
Yeah, and you know what? When people using FoodMarble are working with a clinician, what will generally happen is they'll start with SIBO and try and clear that. So SIBO or EMO, because as you say, you kind of need to resolve that before kind of looking at the food aspects. Because if you have it, you'll want to resolve that.
And I just saw a linguistic question come in. When I say SIBO, for me, that means SIBO, EMO, and ESO. And that is because I started doing this when there was only the word SIBO. And so for me, I use that as an umbrella term to mean EMO and ESO as well. And even LIBO in a way, because we know that EMO and ESO can be overgrown in the large intestine as well.
LIBO was a new one for me. That's why I was a bit confused when I first.
You're like, what's that?
I was like, sorry, to say it again in my head.
Oh, Siobhan, you're muted.
I was wondering why you guys were ignoring me. Thank you. Okay. Could you do me a favor, Dr. Siebecker, and explain the different acronyms?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So SIBO is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, but now we know that what we used to call methane SIBO, because there's three main gases in SIBO, hydrogen, methane, and hydrogen sulfide. So the methane SIBO, we used to call it, got a new name about 3-4 years ago, and that's intestinal methanogen overgrowth. And it can overgrow in the large intestine as well. And then hydrogen sulfide just got a new name a year ago, intestinal sulfide overproduction. And we just used to call that hydrogen sulfide SIBO. So it's easier for me to just say SIBO as an umbrella term instead of saying SIBO, EMO, ESO.
Right.
So that's why I do it.
Okay. Angus, can you take 10 questions in the Q&A box for me and just whip through there? And then, because we only have a few minutes left, is there a subscription fee for the app, Claire?
In the US, there's no subscription fee.
Okay.
Outside the US, in Australia and Canada there is.
Okay. And how many breath tests are within the FoodMarble? So like I'm using it all the time. It's not infinite, obviously, but how many approximately does it do?
Well, it really depends on how careful you are with the device. Often the lifespan of the device will last your need. So a lot. I mean, you could do any number of challenges. You could use it every day for a number of years. We have a lot of users like Alison who've had their device for several years and they're still working. So it's hard to put a number on it.
Okay. Well, okay, but it lasts a long time.
Yeah. So I think the warranty is 1 year. But it should last a lot longer than that.
And we have many users who've been using it for multiple years without a problem.
Okay. Viv, I suspect I have hydrogen sulfur SIBO. Is that current FoodMarble not the one for that? So if it's specifically hydrogen sulfide SIBO, they're working on the technology. But if it's methane or hydrogen and food sensitivities, then you're in good shape. So I'm curious as to why you think you have the hydrogen sulfide. Have you already had a test and it showed that? Okay, let's see. So a couple of people are saying that they're having a hard time finding the expert mode. Is there a trick to getting that?
So I think you're right.
I'm just going to say, it should be working fine. So if devices are very old, it may not be available, but what people can do is if they reach out to us on hello@foodmarble.com and just let us know your email address for your account and we can check for you and get that resolved.
Okay. Dr. Siebecker, lactulose. Is it vegan? It's not lactose, everybody, which is the milk sugar. But what is the difference between lactulose and lactose? And I understand why that's confusing because I do the same thing with glutamine and glutathione. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a lab created carbohydrate. It's synthetic, so it is not, to my knowledge, it is not animal based, and it is different than lactose.
And what is the dose of lactulose for the test for SIBO?
Is that 25 grams, you guys? I can't remember. No.
I think the dose for a lactulose breath test is 10 grams or 15 mils.
Oh yeah, that's right. I think I have it. Yes, 10 grams. Sorry. Yep. 25 grams is fructose. That's where I got confused.
Yeah, fructose 25, lactose 25.
If you already have a device and you're wanting to get the masterclass that Dr. Josh Goldenberg created about FoodMarble, reach out to us at info@SIBO.SOS and we will send you the link to purchase. It's $59, I think. It's either $59 or $79. It's in that range. But that's the best way to get that. Okay, how many total blows into the air tube till it would no longer work? We talked about that. Is there a place to ship to and have a battery or whatever change so we don't have to pay for another few $100s for the next X numbers of blows into the device? So they're saying it lasts for years and legitimately thousands of blows. So look at it not from scarcity of like, darn, this thing's about to go. Instead, like, hey, we're doing great, and you're not really worried.
I mean,
cross the bridge when you get there.
This is the most incredible thing. I mean, you buy it once and you can do endless breath tests. To me, that's the game changer. You know.
Hello@FoodMarble is their customer service, and Rose. Now you have Rose, who is the manager of that department. So it's hello@foodmarble.com. Michael, hey, do hydrogen tablets make you have a higher test result? Like, does it contribute to hydrogen, perhaps avoid the hydrogen tablet? So I did ask Dr. Pimentel this question about hydrogen water. And, I don't think he's sitting around thinking, I think hydrogen water is going to change the world and everyone should be drinking it. I don't think that he's really I'm guessing, I shouldn't speak for him. But when I asked him that, he's like, no, it's just not going to impact it. It's just not that much. So he did not feel like it was going to be an issue. Okay. Are there any microbiome insights that can be derived from the result of your test? Claire, this one's for you, woman. Microbiome expert, PhD, smarty pants.
Tara, I was just answering some of your Q&A questions.
Oh, good. Help us.
So yeah, I think a lot. It really depends on, what you're interested in. Like I said, so we've talked about SIBO and we've talked about food intolerances, but probably another one that we haven't really talked about, and we have some research on it. For a lot of people who have digestive issues, IBS, SIBO, you're taking different supplements for a long time or even for the rest of your life. And sometimes it's hard to know which ones are working well and which ones aren't. So stuff like prebiotics, we think they're really beneficial. However, we know every prebiotic won't have an impact on every person's gut. So you can actually use your device to see, is my gut metabolizing this prebiotic? Am I seeing an effect? Because if you think about it, a prebiotic is food for your gut microbiome. If they're eating that food, you'll see a change in your gas levels. If you don't see a change in your gas levels, it's unlikely they're metabolizing it. So maybe you need a higher dose or a different product. So a lot of our users are actually being able to assess different products to see what's working and what's not working and not waste your money on things that aren't actually helping you, because it is very personal.
Okay. Angus, we got some more like tech questions in there. How do I upload my receipt for FoodMarble? You email us at info@sibosos.com, and that is in the chat. Thanks, Kirsten. Great to have you. How many packets of the lactulose, etc., do you get when you buy the FoodMarble? Okay, you do not receive lactulose with it. That is what you're going to have to find from your vet. Maybe you heard the conversation earlier, maybe a Canadian pharmacy or your PCP, your gastro, your nurse practitioner. It's a very safe sugar, and we are all frustrated by the fact that it is prescription, but it is, so we're doing our best to work around it. But for example, here are the sizes of the packets. These are, I don't know if you guys have changed your packaging or not, but like I would never, with my situation, never do the inulin, so it's still here. But this is what the packets look like, or they did. And so you need to order your own lactulose if you want to do a SIBO breath test. But if you want to do the other sensitivity tests, it does come with the substrates. And you can buy fructose, for example, if you want even more, on Amazon. Okay, so if you're buying this FoodMarble device today and you send us the receipt and you want to get a different class than Dr. Josh Goldenberg's, write us and let us know that, and then we'll let you pick a different master class. Good question. Thank you. And is health insurance going to cover this device? Do you have a CPT code?
Well,
Yes.
so
You go ahead.
Go, you too.
yeah, so there's a couple of ways, right? Because the device you can get off foodmarble.com, or with the discount code the guys mentioned, that you can use your HSA FSA. So if you've got that as part of your health insurance in the US, you can use that.
Okay.
So that's probably relevant for a lot of people.
Oh, by the way, I got a dog. Okay.
Oh, you're muted again.
Yeah, I know, because she was barking. Let's see. My doctor thought I should drink the 15 milliliters of lactulose straight alone to start the SIBO challenge, but the device said to add 10 ounces of water to it. What's correct? Hey, Deborah. Dr. Siebecker?
Well, yeah, I mean, it depends on how it's coming. There are syrups of lactulose, and then there are powders. But generally, even the syrup, you mix it, you want to have 8 ounces of water that you're taking. And then whatever your lactulose is goes in that 8 ounces of water. Claire, do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, like I think that's exactly it. And if sometimes when you've emptied out the container with the lactulose, you can rinse it out with a bit of water and drink that, just to ensure you get the whole syrup in, because it can be pretty sticky.
How about Medicare? Any luck with Medicare paying for it?
Yeah, so there is, as you mentioned, Siobhan, there is a CPT code for the breath test, and our device is eligible for the breath test code.
So if you are working with a doctor who bills insurance, that could be an option for you. But yeah, I mean, if you're unsure, you can always reach out to us on these questions.
Hey baby, hey doggy, hey Sadie, say hi to everybody. Come on in, say hi to everybody. Okay, Barb. So Barb, is asking this question. I want to make sure everybody gets this answer. So if I eat something like whatever I'm eating, and I want to test to see how it's responding in my gut, then I don't need a substrate, right, Barb? So I just want you to be clear. If you need to test for SIBO, you need to get lactulose. Okay, I hope that clears that up.
Fructose.
Or fructose. Thank you, Dr. Siebecker. Exactly. And so we're including fructose because of the clinical research that Dr. Jason Horlak has done. We do have a masterclass on that also in the SIBO SOS masterclass area. Hey, Cindy, the masterclasses link goes to the mother page. We need to switch that because I got a lot of people asking about the masterclasses on the website. Thank you. So anyway, later on today, go to SIBOSOS.com. Under masterclasses, you'll see like the 60, 70, 100 that we've done, including some from Josh Goldenberg on FoodMarble, food sensitivities, on and on and on, and Jason Horlak, and on and on and on. Yes, schnauzers are the best. Okay, I just, can you handle David C., Angus? Any medications that would make buying this not a good idea, or special timing considerations of when to blow away from those certain medications?
I can say one thing here. There's been a lot of talk about people who are on GLP-1 GIP medicines, and specifically how to test for SIBO. Although I think it would also affect just checking gases after eating. And these are basically medicines like Ozempic and Mounjaro, and those types of diabetic and weight loss medicines. And they do slow the movement of food through the system. And so the current advice right now is to not take it. It's usually taken once a week, is to not take it one time. And then at the end of that week where you've been off of it, that's when you could do your SIBO breath test, if you're talking about a SIBO breath test. However, still, that might not be enough time because these medicines stay active for several weeks. We're just doing the best we can here because, you know, we don't really want to advise people to be off your medicine that you really need for a month, right? So that's really probably what it would take. So just know that if you're on one of those medicines, if you're doing a SIBO test, the substrate may not even ever reach the small intestine. So you might just sort of look like a flat line. We're seeing that a lot now, sort of like a low level static looking negative, but it's just not a valid test really. And then I would imagine that you might see some higher levels. I don't know, Claire, what are you seeing if you're taking it after food? I mean, once again, the food's just sitting in the stomach a long time. So
yeah, I think like myself and Angus have been chatting a lot about GLP-1 RAs. The guidance, we don't really have a better answer than what you just gave. I think it's interesting because probably a lot of the people who are taking these medications have an increased risk at developing SIBO already prior to taking them, and then when they start to take them, that potentially increases that risk. There was that interesting study from Mayo Clinic recently looking at the presence of IMO, and they actually used a breath test and aspirate. And I think in 30% of patients taking these drugs actually had methanogen overgrowth. Really hard to know when do they stop. It's hard to say what's a definite time or a safe time for them to stop and then do their test. But I think we're just learning as we go right now.
And conversely, like another medicine like PPIs, there have been studies done showing you do not need to discontinue PPI before doing a SIBO test, and I would imagine also just regular sampling of gas after food. So those are the main ones I can think of. Mm-hmm. And yes, by the way, we did hear two new studies this year that confirm that there is an increased risk of SIBO on those medicines. We suspected that, but now we do have some studies. It doesn't mean you shouldn't take these medicines. They can be life-saving, you know.
Okay, when I'm on antimicrobials and need to do a challenge after a couple of weeks to see the impact, do I need to go off the antimicrobials for days or weeks to take the SIBO challenge?
Um, in my opinion, no. When we're retesting, what we want to do is we want that test, I would say within that retest, within 2 weeks of finishing your antimicrobials, because we want to see what we just did. That, for me, that is the point of the retest, is to see before we start getting any backsliding. And backsliding is common at about 2 weeks, which is why I would recommend doing it before 2 weeks. So the only time you need to not have been on antimicrobials is really for the very first time you're ever testing SIBO. So you can see what's really there, not what's just been affected by whatever antibiotic or antibacterial you were doing. So just for the first test. After that, you actually want to do it very soon after. Like day 2 is fine, after you finish.
My team is so great. They've already allegedly changed the link on SIBOSOS.com. So if you click the masterclass, you can see what else we have. I'm just going to do a couple of quick announcements. We're going to wrap up in the next 10 minutes. Thank you. Okay. Let's see. Let's get to a couple more questions here. Whew. Let's see. Okay, Claudia, they're working on that. Hang on. What about people who take a ton of supplements or herbs every day, a few times daily, tinctures, teas? Which ones, berberine containing or other ones completely unrelated to berberine, do we have to mind differently if purchasing the device?
So I suppose I can answer that.
Go, Claire.
I think when you're using the device day to day, we always want people to measure what their normal is. So if your normal is taking different supplements that you need to kind of keep your symptoms at bay, whatever your gas levels are when you take them, that is relevant and that should help guide the treatment as you go forward.
Okay. What about PPI blockers? Do you find, or H2 blockers, PPIs, if you do you have to distance it away, or is that just like the same thing you just said, keeping it normal?
I'm not sure, Angus, Alison.
I mean, we know for SIBO tests, you don't need to discontinue or do anything different. But for daily readings, personally, I wouldn't think so. But what do you think, Angus?
So I think a good way of thinking about this is, you want to see everyone's got their normal sort of routine and what they're doing to sustain, good health. And so I think it's good to continue as you normally do and see what your levels are like and see if certain changes will influence that. I don't think it makes sense to cut out what you normally do and what normally helps you.
I mean, I think they were also asking, like, should you not take a reading too close to when you've taken it or something? But you know what seems interesting to me is, why don't you take a reading close to it and then take a reading farther away, and you'll learn and see. That's the whole point of the device, is
Yeah.
gathering these baselines and learning from everything that you're ingesting. How does it affect things?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, really good point.
Have anybody heard about balance issues being an issue with high gases?
As in physical balance, as in like,
Yeah, I think that's what they're saying.
it's a good question.
I have not seen that as a symptom. I mean, anyone can have any symptom from anything, right, individually, but I don't see that as a pattern with any of these.
I think so I'm going to say something and then you guys give me your opinion. So like if I've done a SIBO breath test with the FoodMarble, and then I've done, okay, that's one silo. And then another silo is I've done a SIBO breath test with a different lab. I don't really want to compare those two. I want to, but it doesn't make sense to really compare those two. Is that true or false? Because they're saying that, there's a big difference. And is it better, logically, is this good thinking, that you would just like do a SIBO, if you have a SIBO breath test from another lab, to redo that SIBO breath test with that same lab, if it's like close proximity, not like a year apart, but like if it's close proximity? What are your thoughts? Siebecker, I'll let you take that one.
I wanted to hear from FoodMarble. Yeah, I've done a lot of side-by-side comparison tests, and I've seen them line up and not line up, right, between various labs and the FoodMarble. And this can be confusing, when you're a practitioner, and it's like, well, is one right, is one wrong? Best thing to do is just see if you can correlate it with symptoms. That would be the real thing. Also, I talked with a couple of practitioners who have, instituted the use of FoodMarble as the test that they use, and they said they're just recalibrating their clinical senses with the test that they're using, and they've switched to FoodMarble.
Yeah,
So that would be my advice.
it's actually like it's like the that masterclass we did like cover this topic in a lot of detail, but
Yeah.
it's a super complex topic
It
of,
is. Yeah.
comparing devices and comparing tests.
He's
Some of the
now, yeah.
devices
And bread
operate in a very
samples.
different way. The
Yeah, didn't you have like 10 different reasons why they could be different? And you went through this specifically. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so it is really hard to do comparisons, and almost the biggest part is the gut is complex and your levels are changing. So it's totally normal for, like, for example, if you're doing a SIBO test, your lactulose, and you've consumed lactulose, and your hydrogen levels might be racing up at some point. But if you do a breath reading at 4, or say at 6 a.m., uh, and you get a certain level at 6:05, that level might have gone up quite a bit if you're in that rise phase. So you get there's a lot of challenges, even forgetting, even if the devices and the lab tests are exactly the same, you still have to deal with the complexity of the GI tract and the microbiome.
and
So,
like,
yeah.
and probably like the two quick checks we get, people messaging us with their mail-in reports, and two quick things that we always check is when the person sent the samples and when they were actually measured by the lab, and also the correction factor. So that will tell you the quality of the sample. So if the person, the quality of the exhalation, because some of these test kits are really tricky and to do, you have to breathe very slowly in a very particular way. So looking at the quality, but based off the correction factor, if a large correction factor is applied, we know the sample may have leaked out or it wasn't actually collected properly. And then the other big one is the time between actually them receiving the sample and testing the sample. And both of them tell us a lot about the particular test. And in some cases, if the FoodMarble device, there is something wrong, we'll always replace it or assess it. But, we're very transparent as a company. We're never trying to hide things from people. We'll always look at devices and look at reports and often give a full review back.
Okay. If you are bloated and have alternating constipation, diarrhea, or non-consistent bowel patterns, those are some signs that you might want to test for SIBO, bloating, etc. So I'm just answering questions here. How would one know if you have sensitivity to sulfur foods? We do have to wrap up, guys. We answered 164 questions. Is that possible? Okay. How would one know if
There
you
are
have,
there
yeah.
are sulfur food lists you can just get free online. Just take a look at those. I think I have some of those linked on my website as well, which is siboinfo.com. And just take a look at those. And how do you ever know if you have food sensitivities? You have to be sensitive to tracking. I ate something and then did I get a symptom? And of course, then there can be delays. This is why the FoodMarble can be helpful, right? Because it can show you what's happening with the gases. So you would need to just think, when I eat these sulfur-containing foods, eggs, chicken, etc., are some of these cruciferous vegetables. Do I get symptoms? So you're just trying to link that.
Okay. Hold on. Let's see. When stomach acid is very low due to old age, where we produce a lot less, or we have vagus nerve issues where the lower esophageal sphincter is too lax, would we have additional considerations if we buy this device?
I
Well,
don't think so. I don't know.
yeah, I
Angus
mean,
would.
so something to look out for is, as people get older, their methane levels do tend to get higher. So, like, keep an eye out for that. So you may see your methane levels a bit higher. Um, and yeah, GI issues, the ones we're talking about, can be more common as people age. So, I think it could be really powerful for, like, we've got users who are in their 70s and beyond. So, yeah, it can be very applicable in an older group.
Okay, here's the deal. We need to boogie on home. Okay. We've got 8 more questions. Come on now, we can do this. Okay. Do you have any measure to test histamine levels? I have SIBO and now I have emo with horrible histamine issues and have to stay on a low histamine and low fermentation diet.
Well, so we can't really help directly with histamine, but there's a lot of overlaps there in terms of what symptoms can be like. And I mean, histamine is often coming from where you've got like highly fermented foods and drinks. So yeah, I mean, it's sort of, I think using our technology, you can rule out or rule in what we can help with. You're not necessarily going to help directly with histamines though.
Okay. Will there ever be a day when the device is freestanding and doesn't need an app, Bluetooth, or I don't know how it could be done without food,
Well, we
Michael?
are we are working on a feature where you can use the device without the app, not all the time because you eventually need to see like the results in more detail, but where you can just take a breath reading with the device, put it down again, and later you can check the app to see more detail.
Okay. So a little bit of a delay, but you don't ever see a day where it's just like on the device. I don't see how you could even on the device itself would have an LCD or something and it would show the indication of the number.
Yeah, well, so what we will do is on the device we'll use the lighting to show what the level is like. So if you got a high, medium, low, it's not going to be the same detail as on using the app, but we would like to see where somebody can take 3 or 4 breath readings during the day when they like to do it without opening their phone. But then they can look at their phone later to look at it at a high level.
Okay. Claire, are you finishing up with Devora and the questions? Are there any differences to expect with other types of waters? Alkaline, high alkaline, distilled, reverse osmosis? Any just water alkalinity affect results?
Not something we've looked into.
Okay.
Good food for questions here.
I know. Oh, this article is
I mean, this is
genius.
to me, that's what the device is for. Try some different waters and see if it affects your gas,
There we go. Okay. Thank you, Siobhan, for the 22-minute mention. This is to do with your breath test preferences, Dr. Siebecker. Can you still mention if there's any variation in results that has been proven, if this can, I understand spreading the testing time to 3 hours makes sense, but do any of the panelists know what percentage of variation the results on the report would be if blowing in at 15, 20 versus 25 or 30 minutes after meal ends?
So this kind of relates to, how often you take a breath reading, maybe day to day. It sounds like it relates to it taking, if you've eaten a meal. So like when we're talking about day-to-day testing, we say to people, you don't need to test so often because like with the SIBO breath test or with one of our food intolerance tests, you're drinking a liquid and the liquid moves quickly through your gut, and so you tend to see um, changes in your breath readings quite quickly. Um, but when you're eating normal food, it's more slow. It's slower. So we say to people, if you take a breath reading each hour, that's usually enough. Now, some people digest really quickly, some digest more slowly, but you don't necessarily need to test really frequently when you're looking at solid foods.
Is omeprazole a PPI?
Hmm.
Yeah, so we already answered that. Okay, this has already been answered. Claire's responding to it. Okay, we got through 178 questions behind the scenes and in front. I'm very excited about this because
Wow.
we're deeply committed to answering your questions, everyone. Thank you so much. Do go into the chat to see the 16% off discount code. Also, if you're interested in the offerings that Dr. Siebecker and I have, the 3 ways we can help you with the monthly call Q&A or the membership, which includes the monthly call or small group coaching. There's a link for that there. We'll put it in the description as well as in YouTube. If you want to find the master classes that are covering everything from LIBO and SIFO and Dr. Josh Goldenberg's take on how he clinically uses the FoodMarble. They all range anywhere from $59 to $77, and they are at SIBOSOS.com. Look under masterclasses. Let's pour some love into the chat for our guests. Thank you, Dr. Siebecker, for co-hosting with me.
So happy to be here. I'm reposting these links you posted. There we go.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. 10-year anniversary for me and Dr. Siebecker this year, working together. It's wild.
And
Wild.
thank you so much, you guys, for adding PPMs for everybody. I'm
Yes,
thrilled.
thank you. That is so exciting. I love that you have done that. We really, really appreciate all of your work. PPMs or not. That you've done this work and you've devoted your lives to this work. We really, really appreciate it, and Godspeed and keep going. So thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for being here.
Bye, everybody.
Okay, bye, everybody. Big hugs. Big hugs. Look in your email. We will be sending out the replay later today. Thanks for all your great questions, A+ questions as always, and we'll